All right. For all the beautiful beings that are just joining the live, we're just finishing getting set up. Thank you for joining right on time. As always, I'm just going to make sure all the things are working. And we're going to get into it. Beautiful. All right. Starting recording in 3, 2, and 1. Good morning, evening, afternoon, beautiful beings. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to another mystical, spiritual, and loving discussion into a theme and topic and conscious dance today that I know is going to give you a lot of value, a lot of guidance, and a lot of support. I have a beautiful man to introduce here to all of you in 2 seconds, but as always, a bit of foundation, a bit of housekeeping to set up the stage. If you're joining live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, welcome. As always, you can leave your comments, your questions, anything that bubbles up during this chat in the comment section. I'd love to read them. I'd love to add them into this show. So please feel free to be here with us, hold space. If this hits your heart today, if you're listening to this on the podcast, please share this out far and wide. We know that this, especially this topic today, is needed to reach more hearts. So please share it out to a friend, a family member, a lover. And if you get something valuable out of this conversation, please leave your feedback over on Apple and Spotify in reviews, and that helps the show as well. If you want to engage more with this conversation, like I mentioned, please feel free to join my Facebook group, the Cosmic Love Antenna, where I have beautiful members here with us now that are engaging, asking questions, and holding space. But with all that, I want to introduce the lovely man I have here today. The beautiful Brian is a friend that I'm getting to connect with. He's also a lovely well-being leader, a speaker, a holistic health coach, and the founder of Conscious Action, which we'll speak about today. And I get the pleasure to dance with Brian to discuss the topic at hand, which is the Great Conscious Awakening. What is this? Why does it matter? What are some tools, modalities from sound healing, meditation, family constellations to support us during this great awakening? Brian, welcome to the Cosmic Love Antenna.
Thank you so much, Harrison, for having me here, sharing this space with you. And as you're saying, being connected and in this beautiful dance that is our life, and to be able to share space with you here, and as we've been doing as well, connecting outside of this conversation as we are preparing to co-create a retreat. So yeah, it's a pleasure to be here with you and with everyone that is listening to us, whether that is live or in this moment of now, in whichever moment that is for everyone.
So I just want to point out something, Brian, straight away here. I was mentioning this to you before we started recording, and I want to make sure people really hold it in their heart as we go deeper. You can hear that, and we'll speak about this more in terms of what Brian does in this world and his work as a conscious leader. But you can hear that, Brian's voice holds a lot of impact, holds a lot of love, holds a lot of frequency. And I guess this is probably where we can start, Brian, with this topic today of this great conscious awakening. I know in my journey that as I've started to come back to my gifts and my spiritual awakening, my conscious connection to self, I've noticed that the degree in which I've been able to go inwards is also the degree in which I can go deep into the hearts of others, meaning that I can really, I really know when I listen to Brian's voice, as an example, that there is something here for me. There is something here for me, whether that be co-creating something, whether that be seeking you for help, support, or if it's just a friendship. So I guess the first question for you, Brian, is what is the role of recognizing other people for what they really are in this shift that we're moving into?
Beautiful. Thank you for that. I think that we we are not alone here, as we are co-creating this universe. As my one of my teachers of Tibetan Buddhism would share with us, he would say, and I always resonated with this, he would say that the universe is this dynamic energetic principle, and we are all a specific dynamic configuration of that energetic principle. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because this gives us, in a sense, some agency, some uniqueness, and at the same time, some connection. And when we are in relationship with others, connecting in whichever capacity that relationship is, we're able to learn more, and to learn more and to recognize more about others as well as ourselves. And the more that I have been doing my own inner path, as you were sharing, the easier it is to recognize outside what is it that resonates with me, what is it that I'm going to be connecting with, who do I need to be nearby, who do I need to soak up their vibes. It's a really interesting way of understanding that relationship of the inner and the outer, and that recognition of others as sometimes mirrors and sometimes not, and how we can evolve and evolve in the way that, and I always like to share this, we are evolving, and we're going to get deeper into this, into the awakening. We're not going anywhere outside. We're not reaching anywhere. We're just coming back to the remembering and that recognition that we are ready, that love, that whole being, that perfect being. And if I can recognize that in me, I can recognize that in you, I can recognize that in everyone. Therefore, I can start to engage in a different way that at least I was used to when I was younger, before I did all of this path.
Speaking of being younger, what I'm hearing you say, and I really just want to emphasize this for all the lovely listeners tuning in, sensitivity is a superpower, right? Sensitivity is attunement. Sensitivity is, oh, this is what I need and this is what I don't need. And going back to my childhood, and it sounds like that's what you're alluding to as well. I grew up as a man, as a boy, that was told by society, by religion, by culture, by all the things, that it's weak to be sensitive. It's weak to be emotional. It's not manly, right? And on the flip side of the coin, there are many women that I've worked with that have heard that you're being too much when you are expressing these sensitivities that we're just talking about. And that's not what I'm hearing you say, right? It's another way that we could look at this is you're finally listening to the soul rather than listening to your programs, your shadows, your pain and illusion. Does that resonate, Brian, with you?
Yes, definitely. As you're saying that, and I feel this was true for myself as a child and a teenager, up until the moment that I started this path. I was so disconnected from my body, from my feelings. I was just using my head, and as you're saying, all of the programming and the conditioning that I had And I wasn't able to resonate with the things as I am now. I wasn't able to feel, what do I need to turn right or do I need to turn left? Do I need to go into this place or not? Do I need to engage with this person or not? And I feel, as you're saying, that as we are shifting a little bit in the ways and the beliefs and the patterns of behaviors that have been passed down through these last few hundred years, we are re-engaging with, as you're saying, this superpower that we have. That is our intuition, that is our capacity to feel and our capacity to resonate with things and with others. And, as you're saying, how, in a sense, how sad it is that those aspects of us have been, like dimmed down or pushed completely down, both for men and women, as you're saying, if people feel like they are too much, instead of allowing those aspects of ourselves to be nurtured and to be a big part of us instead of just living completely in our heads. So yes, to come back to the body and to the feelings and to feel what is happening.
This is the journey, right? For all the beautiful souls listening in. I've just released my first book, and one of the chapters in my book is the longest road we'll ever take, and it's from the head to the heart, right? And part of that journey is exactly what you're highlighting, right? It's this embracing of this beautiful, sensitive attunement and awareness. And I'm happy that you brought up the ancestral, the continuation of the cultural systems that are within us, right? It's not just, and we'll talk about this later because I want to hear you speak about family constellations, but it's not just one lifetime thing, right? It's even if you don't believe in past lives, we don't even need to go that far. We can just look at our ancestral line. We can just look at our mother line, our father line, right? What did my grandfather grow up in? What is the culture that he grew up in? What are the chains that he hasn't broken that I need to break, right? But Brian, before we get into that, I do, because we're hitting on it, and I want to hear you succinctly sort of share to you, what is this conscious awakening? What is this great conscious awakening? What does it mean to you? And why is it even important right now?
Wow, such a beautiful question. And as we are talking, this is beginning, March 2023. The earth, our mother earth, Gaia, Pachamama, however you'd like to call her, she's alive. she's a being that is alive and is going through her own transformation and shift. For those that are perhaps in this conversation, there's a movement that is a frequency shift as we change our through the dimensions. This is just a vibrational shift, and the earth, Gaia, is going through this shift into what we call the fifth dimension. Now, what is important with this is to understand we are here as well. We don't just live on top of the earth. We are here. And yes, we are as well consciousness that is not just here in this physical body, but this physicality is the earth. And we are co-creating this shift. And we, as humanity, are part of allowing a rapid shift or a slower shift, which will happen. We are key in understanding when will this happen. So if we as conscious beings, we invite more awakening and realization into our role in this shift of energy, then we are going to be able to support our Mother Earth for this shift to happen, because she's ready.
Yeah.
We are the ones that are mostly not ready. Yet more and more of us are waking up for different reasons. We are waking up to these realizations of our interconnectedness, of our energetic entanglement, and how we can be of service both to ourselves, to humanity, and the
And to
shift that
her.
is taking place. And one of the beautiful things for me is that as we are on this journey, I keep getting, a lot of people that work with me asking, well, what will happen? What do I need to do? And I always say the same thing. You just need to be here now.
Yes.
It doesn't matter
Yes.
really what will happen when we shift to a different frequency, to a different dimension, because that will happen when it needs to happen.
Yes.
We still do the same thing every single day.
Yeah. Brian, so the be here now, there's a question that came through in the chat that I want to pose you because it actually connects to exactly what you're saying. Before I get to that, I just want to tie a little ribbon on what you're saying about the connection to the earth. It goes both ways, right? When we awaken, it supports her, but then in that channel, she then gives us more support, right? She gives it unconditionally. We just need to open ourselves to it, right? I often refer to it as a part of our chakra system. Our root chakra isn't our base chakra. We have there's multiple, but there's actually a chakra that I call the earth heart chakra that exists in the heart of Mother Earth that is us, right? So it's connecting to exactly what you're saying. And it shows this channel of love and light that if we embrace this link, this, I call it a soul contract with her, it goes both ways, right? So just adding my beautiful lens to what you're saying. But I want to jump to this question, and I'd love to hear your response to it, and then I'll add to it as well. So Gemma in the Facebook community, again, if you want to join the Facebook community, it's Your Cosmic Love Antenna. And Gemma asks, can I ask you both, as your inner soul's awareness expands, has the path you're on chosen you, or have you chosen the unfolding path rather than consciously making the path? So connects to this be here and the now component. So what comes up for you, Brian, around this question?
Thank you. So what I understand from the question has to do, if I'm correct, has to do a little of our creation, or if we are, following something that
The
is
path, your
already
soul
there.
path. Yeah.
Yeah. So, this is a very interesting thing, because as human beings, we have free will, and we are not always connected to that path from our soul, our consciousness. The more that I've been connecting, it's easier to follow that recognition. And therefore, it's easier to choose every single day how I'm flowing, how I'm going, and what it is that I'm going, where I'm going is to this present moment now. I'm not going anywhere other than here. As I work with in my own practice with a lot of different modalities, a lot of different traditions, I connect a lot with the field. We might call it the quantum field. In there, there's no such thing as time and space. That's also here. And it's an illusion that our mind and our being creates. Therefore, it's easier to connect to, in this moment of now, to that path. As
Yep.
I am well now, as I am connected now, guess what? I am connected in the next moment.
Yes.
And I am connected in the next moment. And I am connected in the next moment.
Yep.
What is taking place now is unfolding what will take place next in the next moment of now. Therefore, the more that I am in this beautiful allowing and surrendering, whilst consciously choosing to be there, that is how this path unfolds.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear as well what you have to share and add.
I've so much to add. So Brian, that was beautiful. And what I'm going to add is just going to be another layer on top of what your foundation is, because I think that's the answer. And Gemma just added a clarifying element, is your path of offering, right? And it's part of this, right? And what I'll say here is the path that you're on. Let's change the word to purpose, because I would connect it to your purpose, your soul purpose, your soul path. And I see that there are every single soul has two kinds of purpose. There is an inner purpose, and then there is the outer purpose. The inner purpose needs to come first. And this inner purpose is the same for every single soul. And this inner purpose is the remembering of the God that we are, the divinity that we are, the presence that we are. Once we do that, once we create the space to remember the presence, the divinity, the frequency of love, the love field, all the same thing that we are, once that happens, then the second purpose kicks in. Then we can export that inner connection of divinity into the outside world through inspired action. The divinity that is us now moves through us, and we are inspired to take action. And that action, I've noticed, is connected to our soul path, is connected to our offerings, is connected to our gifts, all the things. And it's not about, last thing I'll say here, and I'd love to get your reflections on this, Brian, it's not about knowing all the steps. It's about taking the one step that's inspired, right? As Rumi says, the way appears once you start walking it, right? And it's that one step that we need. Does that resonate with you, Brian?
Yes, beautiful. And you know, as you're sharing that, I would like to add into there, as we have that inner path that you're saying, and we start to open and bring this outwardly, we each have the gifts and the medicine that we're bringing, which is unique.
Yes.
As you're saying, that is the purpose. That is what the medicine that we're here to share. And the more that we connect, the easier it is to recognize, this is my offering, this is my service, this is the medicine that I'm bringing for humanity, for the universe, for everyone. And this is why, for me, it is so important to each of us understanding our own uniqueness and understanding how we need to stop being like everyone else. We need to embrace our uniqueness, because if we don't do that, we are not only preventing ourselves from connecting with those gifts, we're preventing all the rest of humanity to be able to get that. So I usually say, in the sense of, if this would be a machine, like each of us is an integral part of that machine.
Yeah.
We don't work. Like if someone is supposed to be a nail and suddenly they are not a nail because they're not behaving like a nail, then we don't have that part. So it doesn't fully work. So the more that we connect, we can bring those gifts to offer to others.
Yeah, I love it. And it highlights when you stand in those gifts. So when Brian stands in his uniqueness, when I stand in my uniqueness, it shows the loving light of example for other people to do the same, right? When someone stands in their full, I refer to it as their love frequency, but it's the same words here. When someone stands in their divine love frequency fully, and then the people that are observing them, they feel that in them. They aren't just feeling that person's uniqueness. They are also feeling their uniqueness responding to the opportunity to be shown, right? To be like, oh, if that me can do it, then this me can do it, right?
Yes, I have I had many times that it has happened that, for whatever reason, even strangers come to me that I think that they are just picking up something in the energy. I remember many years ago when I was living in a retreat center, and my teacher, a Tibetan Lama, the the feeling that I had in his presence was so strong, and it showed me my potential.
Yeah.
By being in his presence, it showed me what, as you're saying, that recognition, if this is possible, then I have the same possible outcome or the same possibility to be in that, as you're saying, that love frequency.
Yeah.
When we are surrounded by that, it is easier to understand our uniqueness. And the more that we each step into our power,
Yeah.
the easier it is to have this ripple effect.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that I often say, yes, I work doing this and supporting and guiding other people. But what I'm doing for that is I'm doing my own practice. And by being connected, I am doing the work to show others what is possible in my own way. As and some people will resonate with me, some people will resonate with you, some people will
Yeah.
resonate with someone else. Yet, what can we do is that we do our work to connect, and that does its own work.
Yeah. It's the divine mirror effect, right? It's the divine, and yeah, it's a beautiful example. It's one of the reasons I love this podcast so much. I know you have a show too, Brian, and we can consciously be together, reflecting off each other and going deeper into all the things. And yes, we might say different words and we might have different labels, but the frequency and the presence behind it is what matters, right? I want to read Gemma's comments. She responded to what we were answering. Yes, thank you so much, both for the clarity of how the path of our soul's purpose starts within, and our acceptance of our own uniqueness supports the unfolding. Yeah, beautiful, right? Exactly what we're saying. Brian, speaking of holding space and being a divine mirror, I want to speak now within this topic today that we're discussing. And for all the people that are showing up live, I see you there, Becky. I see you there, Cara. Thank you for joining. If you have comments, questions, please pop them in the comment section on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, and I'll weave them in where I can. I want to, within this conversation of this great conscious awakening, Brian, I now want to speak about, some of the tools that you use, because they're very powerful. And while I think the tools are important, what is more important is the frequency that we're channeling through them. But the tools themselves, they have significance, right? And if we can understand them, then we can open our hearts. So I guess where I want to start is sound healing. And I know this is one of your modalities, and it's actually something that, for me personally, I haven't delved too deeply into, but I know its significance, just through the chant of Om being so powerful. So I'll throw it to you, Brian. What comes up, within this topic of you, within this great conscious awakening, where does sound healing come in?
Yes, thank you for that. As you're saying, I want to go back to something you just mentioned about different tools, different modalities. They are there as different doorways and as different keys for each of us. And these are some of the ones that I connect with. I resonated so much when I was a teenager with sound healing, partly because my mind was racing so much that I felt like I couldn't meditate. Therefore, through sound healing, I found a way of connecting that didn't involve too much of my mind in that moment. Now, the key thing for me, and this is my experience with that, is that when we're working with sound healing, what we're working really is with the energy vibration and with the energetic, change. I often say when I'm sharing the sound healing, I often say be open to the vibrational medicine. When we understand this and we can use different frequencies and different vibrations, what happens with us is that as energy beings, some of those vibrations will touch certain blockages that we have.
Yes.
And they will start to slowly be massaged.
Yeah.
And this is one of the ways that we can heal without having to use our mind, without having to understand what's going on. It's just there's some blockage there, and this is actually massaging it. Sometimes during that process, it might be super intense, sometimes not. But this is one of the ways that we can heal. And the more that we are in that space, within that vibration, the more that our body will actually start to match that vibration. Our body has that capacity of resonance. And the more that it starts to be in that space, the easier it is to actually feel that relaxation and that vibration. And the more that we do it, the easier it is to stay there.
Yeah.
In the same capacity we have when we go into a space where we feel, it's super stressful, and we start to get into that energy. This is choosing which frequency I want to surround myself with. I want my being to be vibrating at. And the more that I do this, the easier it is to recognize, as my teacher used to tell me when I was younger, sound healing and working with sound and vibration is the change of dimensions, is the ascension path, because the ascension path is a vibrational one. As we were talking earlier about our Mother Earth changing to the fifth dimension, us changing towards the fifth dimension, the dimensions are just a frequency change, just like with the radio.
Yeah.
So the more that we understand this, we can use these tools and these sounds and these beautiful instruments that are there available for us to change, to elevate that frequency so that we can be on this path of ascension to those different layers or those different dimensions.
Yeah. So much in there, Brian. So much. I hope people are really opening their hearts to the knowledge that is here around sound healing. And so a couple things bubble up in me. Firstly, for people tuning in for the first time to the show, I'm going to put in the show notes a link to another chat I had with a powerful musician named Ian Morris, and he uses frequency to do exactly what Brian's talking about: massage the traumas and the wounds and have that resonance. And I just want to point this out because this is the image that I was getting as you're speaking about the different dimensions. We are a multidimensional being, and we have a Russian doll anatomy. And what I mean by that is whether it's our ancestral wounds, whether it's our inner child wounds, whether it's our past life wounds, whether it's our, if you want to get super woo, our galactic starseed wounds, each of these are a part of us. And each of those different subtle energy domains, as you were saying, will resonate at a different frequency. And the reason that this is important is because when you're in a sound healing, depending on what the person's doing, whether they're using bowls, whether they're singing, whatever they're using, there is the potential to hit all these different spaces, all these different components. And, I just share this because it really shows, and I'd love to get your views on this from your experience. It really shows why, during this awakening process that we're moving through, certain situations can be more intense than others, right? Certain healing sessions, certain, being around people, because we give frequencies off, right? It shows why some days are more intense than others, because we just might have more things reacting. We just might have more parts of our multidimensional being that are being massaged, as you said, back into the light. What comes up for you around this, Brian?
Yeah, thank you for that. I I've seen within my experience and within the
Groups?
yes, I think it's been now thousands of people that have come through my sessions, that when something touches that part, the body responds. And a lot of people have no idea what is happening, what is there, as you're saying. There are things that are coming from such a long time ago. And the beautiful thing is that we don't need to know what that is in order for us to integrate,
Process it.
process it, and heal. This is why I love energy work. The more, and this is one of the things for me that is important, the more that we reconnect to our bodies, reconnect to be able to feel the feelings, the actual sensations in the body, the energy in the body, and how it moves, the easier it is to stay within that intensity, as something is starting to move that has been there for such a long time. And I had actually a couple of weeks ago, I was doing a healing session, and for this person it was super intense, and she was like, "Was that like what happened?" And I'm like, "That's beautiful, like you were able to actually touch that, and now."
Yeah.
The important thing is, how are you now? And she was
Yeah.
like, I feel light. And I'm like,
That's it.
that's it. That is the importance of doing this, is because yes, in the moment as we are going through it, perhaps it is intense. If we know how to be with it, if we know how to feel, if we know how to use our breath, if we understand how to be in relationship with that intensity, then in the Buddhist term would be saying we are burning the karma, we are burning
Yes.
those ties that have been holding us. And the more that I do this, the easier it is to recognize with some people. There's this Sunday, I had one of the women that she's been coming for years now, every week almost, and the change is huge. Like, it's beautiful to see her energy, her vibration, how alive she feels now compared to when she started coming. And we still go through different things, and at different moments with different frequencies, and depending on what's going on with our lives, we're going to respond
Yeah.
differently to things. So we keep on doing this work.
Yeah.
Yet it is so important for me to be open to, as you're saying, using all of these different modalities to understand, this might be a much faster pathway to get to work through some of those things that are completely unconscious, some of those blockages that are there. And this is why I work with this holistically for myself, and I work with this holistically with others, because we need to figure out that specific configuration for each person. Yet that vibration, beautiful.
And I think that's the thing that changes, right? And that's the thing that we have. I don't want to say control, but we have the most divine choice over, is what what is either in our medicine bag that we can apply to this new situation, or what is the new thing I need to add to my medicine bag to deal with this situation? Because, just going back to what you first said at the start, we can't get stuck in trying to break down the specifics. We just have to move through it. And we might have the tools to move through it, but we might not. And I think it's a big, and this connects to this topic at large, a big part of this conscious awakening is really allowing your innate courage and confidence and power, because that's what it is. It's power when we reach out to other people, to be like, oh, I don't have this tool right now. I don't have this tool for, let's use the example, because this is where I want to go next. I don't have this tool for this specific ancestral wound. So I'm going to open my heart, coming back to that soul connection that we talked about earlier. I'm going to open my heart to my beautiful, sensitive being, and it's going to direct me to the person, place, and modality that is best for this unique frequency of my multidimensional being to move through, right? So it's allowing ourselves to do that, because we can all make the choice to shut that off. We can all make the choice to be the victim. We can all make the choice to just become the wound and not do anything about it. I've been there, and it's it's a daily thing. But I think it's making the choice to like, okay, I need something else here. So let's use that as a segue, Brian, into one of the other modalities that I've talked about on the show before, and I'll put this in the show notes, but I want to hear Brian's beautiful lens on this, is family constellations. And where do you think this fits in, Brian? Where does this fit into this great conscious awakening? And why is it important as we start to massage these different frequencies of our being?
Yeah, so beautiful. Harrison, when we understand, as you're saying, that we have all of these different layers, we have all of these things that came before, we are so entangled energetically with so much that we don't know, that we don't understand. And this is, for me, where different tools, like I said, with sound healing, and now that I'll share a little bit with family constellations, understanding there's things that my mind doesn't understand, that logically makes no sense, yet there's a recognition that something is not working in the way that I wish for it to work, that I know that it can work. There's something that's preventing that. And oftentimes and I know this for myself, as I've been working through family constellations, there's been these energies that are kind of like holding me back. They are holding on to me. And in return, I am holding on to them. Unconsciously, we all want to be loved. We all want to belong. We all want to be part. And we are part of different families, different relationships in terms of here on this earth, what came before us as our ancestors, as you're saying, that galactic beings as well, our past lives. We are multi-layered with that. When we understand that all of that which came before, all of those beings that are part of us, it has an impact on us, and we are playing out different patterns of behavior because we want to belong, and we want unconsciously to solve those things for them. We want to take that burden from them, and we are the ones that are, in a sense, dealing with it.
Yeah.
When we understand that, sorry, go.
No, I was just going to say, Brian, this and this is probably what you're going to explain next year, but I just want to share this image that I'm getting in my head. This is where the constellation image comes in, right? It shows that not just are we interconnected to all the external beings in our lives, the friends, the external family members that are alive, the people we work with, but there is this non-space, non-time constellation of all that have come before. And I'll just say this, and I want to hear you keep unraveling here, but it also shows that they have lessons to give us, but we also have lessons to give them. Right? I think this is an illusion that just because they've come before, that means they have all the answers. But it's a two-way channel. We support them in our healing just as much they can support us in our own healing. So keep going with this beautiful imagery.
And you know, when we understand that, and as you're saying, I'm so grateful that my parents are doing a lot of this work and are doing a lot of the family constellation healing, because what they're doing it for me as well. So now I don't have to actually, everything that they healed, I don't have to.
Yep.
When
Forwards and
we
backwards.
understand, yes, when we understand that, you know, like, we are so interconnected. And when we understand this, there's different times in, you know, let's just use our physical ancestors here. A couple of 100 years ago, the situation was almost everyone went through wars, went through like assassinations, through famine, through hunger, through all of these different things. And if they didn't have the tools to process what happened, that stays within this energetic line, which is our ancestry, our lineage. So someone, us, the ones that have the power, the ones that actually choose consciously to take responsibility to do the healing work, we are the ones that can be the ones that process this. And we don't need, yes, we don't need to know what it was. So, you know, sometimes I connect with the field when I'm doing a family constellation session, and I allow the field to show me the beings and the qualities and the energies that are engaged or are related to whatever it is that needs to be healed. And sometimes I get what it was. And sometimes the field doesn't want to show me that. And I remember this group family constellation session that I was doing. And this woman, she, at one point, she was, but what happened? It was something with her great grandmother. So, and she wanted to know exactly what had happened to her. And I was telling her, the field is not showing me this.
Don't need to know.
And at one point I told her, do you want to heal or do you want to know? Because at that moment, it was one or the other. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes we do know. Sometimes the field shows us what it is. And sometimes it's nice to understand as well. But in that case, you know, it was one or the other. And after a while, she released that need to know. And she actually was able to process and heal. The more that we understand all of these patterns of behaviors that were playing out, we can use this lens of seeing all of these energetic entanglements that we have that we're playing out, and that it is okay for us to process these things. We have that capacity for all of our system, that we have the capacity to still belong, be loved, and be part of all of our families that we have in all of these different layers, and choose differently and choose what is meant for us at this moment, not what we are playing out because, you know, someone was living in poverty, therefore we have that same patterns of behaviors because we need to survive, we need to amass, we need to, you know, like be in that stress response every single day, even if we have that money. So we need to understand all of these different parts of our being.
Wow.
And using tools like this, again, another energetic pathway to work with healing, with understanding these blockages, with understanding our unconscious patterns of behaviors, and how we don't need years and years and years and years of talk therapy
Yeah.
to be able to just heal. And sometimes, yes, it's like that. And
It's
sometimes
instant.
it takes a little bit of time. It depends on how ready we are, how open we are to that allowance. If we are open and we're ready, things happen like this. I have had hundreds of examples that after the day that I do a family constellation, the following day, that person calls me and said, "You won't believe this happened." And I'm like, I believe it.
Yeah. Well, so Brian, I just want to say thank you for that download, the beautiful example that you gave. Well, I'll say this first. It really shows the trust you were talking about with your example of not needing to know. To me, that is the difference between the free will that we were speaking about before and the divine will, right? We have both, right? We're not just a human ego with free will. We are a multidimensional divine God inside of us that has this divine will. And in that moment, within this family constellation work, that in the example that you gave, that we surrender over to the not knowing and just the beautiful healing and transformation, that is the divine will, right? And this applies to all work. I just want to make this clear to everyone listening. This is not just a family constellation thing. This is why I added this into this chat today, within this great conscious awakening. This path and this difference between the free will and the divine will, and knowing that we have both, I know for me has really supported my journey, right? Has really awakened me more to the possibilities of life in general, which I want to ask this question now, Brian, and this connects to the larger theme of this episode. And I just want to welcome all the people dropping into the Facebook chat. I see down there, Trudy. Thank you, Josephine, for popping in. All the beautiful constellation work that you were just talking about, you shared with me in another chat that we had. Right now, you're noticing it's the work, the desire for it has just exponentially increased. There's been a big uptick. And I certainly believe that this correlates to this great conscious awakening. But what are your thoughts around this, Brian? Why do you think that right now in this journey that we're on with the earth and everything we've talked about in this chat thus far, why is now the state and the place that we're ready to do this kind of work?
Yes, I believe that as we are shifting, as energy is changing, it is starting to show us what needs to be revealed, what needs to actually come into the light. There's, this is the moment for that. There's so much that has been, unseen. There's so much that has been just moved underneath that needs to come out. And this is part of it. The more that we understand that what came before has an impact on us now, we need to actually make sure that this is revealed, that this actually is shown, so that we can move towards that place of, our sovereignty, of understanding our divinity, and how we've been held by these energies. When this is happening, there's a recognition. I think that there's as well a few things just in the 3D sphere that have been happening with that, which is there's been a Netflix show showing it. There's been more understanding as well on different lands in different countries. Here in New Zealand, where I am living currently,
Well,
the
and Brian, just to interrupt you super quick, I also think it's the pandemic too, right? There's
yes.
these 3 years of events that we've been through.
Yes, and here in New Zealand, for example, the Maori tradition is being accepted, let's call it, or being brought a little bit more into the mainstream life. It is being
Embraced.
accepted. Yes, and when we are doing that, we start to notice, oh well, like what has been happening up until now. This has been neglected. This has been excluded. In family constellations, the word exclusion is key. Everything that has been excluded is showing up in some other way, mostly in an unhealthy pattern of behavior, in illnesses, in different ways. So what we need to do is we need to include them. So as you're saying, with the pandemic and with everything, there's more time to recognize certain things. All of this is the perfect soup, to actually invite us to do this work, to understand that we need to include all of it,
Yes.
all of it. What we would label as positive and what we would label as negative, it's all part of the whole. So when
Yeah.
we understand that, it is easier for us to recognize and bring all of that into light.
Yeah. An affirmation that I use, Brian, with myself and with the people I work with is, I am all that I am. And just repeating that, I am all that I am. And the intention of that affirmation is exactly what you're saying, is learning to get to the space where you connect into the space where you are that container of love, right? We are not just the individual human, as we've been talking about in many different ways throughout this chat today. You are that love field, or that quantum field, or that divine source, that container that holds it all. And whether it is be through family constellations, whether it be through sound frequency, whether it be through any modality, at any point when the light aspects and the shadow aspects come up, we hold them equally, right? We hold them. Another way that I describe it, that I'll share with you, is I refer to it as holding the child, right? You would an external physical child outside of you that has hurt themselves. When they fall down, how do you support that child? Do you tell them to hurry up? Do you expect them to be a certain way? Or do you create a container of love for them to be seen, to be heard, to be felt, so they can move through all that needs to be moved through? And yeah, I think it's pivotal in this topic at large that we're talking about within this great awakening that we're all moving through, is to come back to that unconditional state that we already are. We're not gaining this. This is us. This is our birthright.
Yes, yes, I love that image of embracing that child, because that is us. And the more that we embrace ourselves, the more that we embrace all of those parts and all of those energies and all of it, the easier it is to come back to that recognition, and as you're saying, like we are not doing anything like out. This is just recognizing we are that love, we are
Yeah.
whole, we are perfect, we are that divinity. Can we remember it, and can we experience it? For me, this is key. This is, as I went through many, many years of working somatically with the body, it was always key to embody those practices, to embody what is happening. And that means understanding that by experiencing it.
Yeah.
Not just a knowing, it's an experience. That is where wisdom comes into place.
Yeah.
And that wisdom shows us who we really are. As you're saying, we are that love vibration. We just need to feel that and get back there.
Yeah. Mr. Brian, I could talk to you all day, my lovely friend, and it is not a surprise. And this is where I want to take this chat next. before we have to wrap up, it is not a surprise that our souls have found each other along this path. And for the people tuning in, I get the pleasure to hold space with Brian and teach with Brian at the end of the year in November at the Illumination Retreat that is being created and facilitated by another friend of the show, Roxanne. And we will be hosting and teaching and doing meditations and sound healings and family constellations. And the intention of this retreat is very linked to what we've been speaking about today, is this illumination or this conscious awakening, supporting this conscious awakening that we're all moving through. So I'd love to hear, Brian, this retreat that we're going to be a part of. And if people are tuning in and are interested in it, why is it important? Why is it important to you? What are you looking forward to as someone who's going to be showing up there and giving your love?
Yes, thank you for that. You know, as you're saying, when we are in a container, time and space, this is what a retreat is, a container to do this work, to be able to go to the depth of our experience and to be able to come out from there by processing, by healing, and then by opening and tuning to the frequency that is that of this awakening, of that illumination, as you're saying. We are then going to be able to be that light for us and for others. And that, for me, is the importance of this retreat, that through all of our co-creation and through all of these modalities that are going to be shared in this beautiful space in Italy, we are going to create that container for us to bring that light and to be that light, and then to go back to whatever it is in the world that we are from, and to be able to be that light for others and to be that light for ourselves in our own lives. And that is why I'm so excited to be able to co-create this with you and to share this space as well.
Yeah. Oh, when I hear you speaking about it, Brian, it's I'm already there. So it's the piece I'll add to it. One of the pieces that I'm so excited about, just for people tuning in to feel this, even if this is not for you, but this feeling and searching for this frequency can be in other ways. It's this idea that we started this chat talking about being a sensitive soul and awakening to that part of what you are. And unfortunately, there are not a lot of physical spaces and places in the world where you are given permission to be all of that. You are given permission to just be that fullest expression. And ideally, in the future, in the new world that we're creating, that'll be more common. But unfortunately, right now, it is not. So I tune into this, what you're saying, and everything that we'll be doing there. For me, it's that is one of the key things that I'm excited about. It's just not just receiving healings and all the things and offering it to people, but just being in a space and place where you're fully accepted to just be all that you are. And that in itself, I think, is very healing, right?
Yes, beautiful, beautiful. Yes, 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 yes.
Brian, as we finish this show, I want to give you the opportunity now for all the beautiful souls that have joined us live in the Facebook chat or are listening to this as the podcast recording, if they have been pulled to your energy, they feel called to connect to you either through the retreat or through your one-on-one work, what would you like to offer people? Where can people find more about the beautiful Brian?
Thank you so much about that, Harrison. Yes, if anybody resonates with my energy, with we've been sharing, you can find me through Conscious Action. That is Conscious Action NZ as New Zealand, that on social media or through the website or through my name, Brian Berneman. Brian Berneman on social media. And you can see over there all of the different offerings, all of the different services. Reach out to me. I love to connect. I don't like pushing people. If you resonate with something, it's meant to be. So just come and connect with me, whether that is a one-off session of family constellation, sound healing, whether that is guidance, whatever it is, it's there. So yes, check it out.
I'm the same, Brian. You don't need to hear it, but just to add it in, I'm exactly the same with the work that I do. That people know they'll make the choice, they'll make the conscious choice to step in.
Yeah.
Brian, it's been a beautiful chat today. I have one more question to ask you before we finish off, and this is the cosmic love antenna. And one of the reasons I sort of came up with that name and have embodied love in all of its ways is, as a little boy, I became very disillusioned with God being a man on a cloud outside of me, and all the things. And what brought me back to my higher power was seeing that love in many ways is my higher power. So I'm wondering, Brian, in your world, how do you define that love word?
Yes. As you're saying that, I'm tuning into it. I can feel it. I'm not finding the right words. It's such a beautiful feeling. It's that nurturing embrace love feeling, but it's more a feeling that is beyond words. So that is what is coming up at this moment.
Sounds pretty good to me, Brian. I love you very much. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for your energy.
The same.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you for all the wonderful souls that have joined us live and all the people listening to the podcast. We feel you. If this conversation today brought you value, please share this out with a friend, a family member, and a lover. But regardless, we send you light, we send you love. And until next time here on the show, we'll see you again very soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.